Hey guys, so some folks have asked for a tutorial on how I did this little box from the toilet paper roll. So here was the decorated box that I did, and here is a finished one as well that was a little bit taller. First, let me say you can do this with one paper towel roll because they're taller, or you can use two toilet paper rolls because they're, a little bit shorter. And actually what I'm going to do this time around is I've been wanting to do a smaller one, a shorter one, probably about this, the height of this total. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So here's how I did it. I started by taking my toilet paper roll and just squashing it down. And then I will use my bone folder to crease this. And I'm sorry if I go off camera because I'm just, just doing this. Hopefully I can show you and repeat everything I did. And then what I did was, you've got the two creases on each side. I then creased it so that I lined up the two other creases that I just made and flattened it out the other way. So now I have a box that is a square, or the folds for a box that's a square. Okay? And I'm just using my bone folder to do it the other way. So now you can see the shape of the box, right? Okay? So then I have to decide, well, how tall do I want this box to be? And really, these two together are the, with the lid and everything. Well, it's a little bit taller than that. You can see that, right? So what I just said was I want one that's pretty short. So what I want to do is decide how tall do I want the sides to be. I'm going to make them about a ½ inch. Actually, I'm not going to even measure it because you guys, you can make this box as tall as you want within reason, okay? And when I say within reason, you have to have enough material to make the insert and the lid and the bottom. So I'm not going to measure it because I don't feel like it today. So what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can find my ruler in my little caddy here. I'm sorry guys, I'm not prepared. I'm doing this on the fly. Let's just say I'm going to make sure, because you have to have enough room when you seal the box at the bottom to not have a hole in the middle like the lid does. See how that doesn't have a hole? So these flaps were about almost an inch, just shy of an inch, and I didn't measure them. So I'm going to cut the flaps for the bottom to about 3/4 of an inch. And as I said, I'm not going to really measure it. I could put tick marks. Maybe I should do that since I'm doing a tutorial, right? So I'm just going to put a tick mark on every crease, along every crease at 3/4 of an inch. And I think that should give it enough space. And I'm not going to be, totally exact, but that way I know where the cut line is. My pencil's acting up for each one. And it doesn't matter about seeing the pencil lines because you're going to cover it. I would think you're not going to leave it this color. So, okay, so every single corner now has a tick line at 3/4 of an inch on or about. And so you're going to cut your, right on the crease. You're going to cut right on that crease up to that point. Okay, if you go a little bit over, it's not really going to mess it up. So you can see me cutting up to there. And that, I got it. Okay, so then all you're going to do is then fold in each of the flaps so that they are folded inward. See, that's all I did. kind of line it up a little bit, make sure it's straight across the bottom, because you want a flat bottom in this case. I'm not using my bone folder, I'm just using my fingers because I don't want to do that just yet. Okay, so you can see all I've done is fold them in, and then I'm going to pull them back out so that you can see what I did. So now they're all just creased across the bottom at the same, you know, line, basically. And you're going to fold your bottoms together. Whichever side looks the nicest should be the outside, obviously. And then you would just glue this flap right here. Or actually, you want to glue, you know, you want to put enough glue here on the inside so that the flaps on the outside stay together. Okay, so that's your bottom. All right. Now, I'm not going to glue it yet because what I have to do is cut across to get the size of my box. Okay. So, as I said, I want to do a shorter box because I think it might be cute. So, I'm going to do one that's about, again, 3/4 of an inch tall. So, I'm measuring off camera, of course, from that crease where the bottom starts, right? So, I just flip up the lid, the bottom part, so you can see where I am at. I'm gonna cut it at, let's do 3/4 of an inch, right? So I'm gonna have plenty of material here. I might even have enough to do both the inside and outside. And I'm just gonna take that and draw the line across. And I didn't do this with my first 2 boxes. I just cut freehand because, you know, that's just the way I go with things sometimes. So I'm gonna use my scissors and just cut that. Right? So now I have a box, a really short one, and I'm just going to do that for now. So there's the outside of the bottom, right? Now the inside, you guys might be wondering, how did I do that? Okay, because this is another toilet paper roll because of the size of my box, but and I do happen to have an extra one right here. So what I'm going to do is, rather than use the same, actually I could, right? You need something to grasp for the lid to kind of fit into, right? So you need a little bit of extra material above the height of your actual box. So what I'm going to do is, I know this is a 3/4 inch box because I just measured it. I'm going to cut a piece of material that is probably 1 1/4 inches. So that'll be a little bit extra over the lid. Because I don't want this box to be too big. So I'm going to do it 1 1/4 inches. And I'm going to do it, actually I'm going to do it on this one right here. And I'm just going to flatten out this second toilet paper roll. Just on one side. I'm not going to put the 4 sides yet. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to cut it lengthwise to make it a little bit smaller. So 1 1/4 inches, I'm going to measure it this time since I'm doing a tutorial. That's about 1 1/4 inches. I don't really care if it's off because it doesn't really matter all that much. That looks about right, but I don't think those are straight, so I'm going to straighten it up. Alright, so I have that line. I'm just going to cut this material off now so that we use this. Okay, so this is going to be my inside lining. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it this way. And I'm just choosing a spot somewhere in the middle. Because what I'm going to do is actually take this and, where's my bottom? Here it is. I'm going to fit it inside, right? I want it to fit inside of this other box, but it has to be a little bit smaller so that the lid has something to grasp onto, right? So, what I had done was just taken it and I cut a little bit off, right? See how I did that? And then all I did was kind of glued it so that there was a little less, there was, you know, it wasn't exactly like this, which makes it the same size as the other toilet paper roll. it was kind of glued like this. So overlapped it a little bit. And that brings it in. You don't want to go too much because you want it to be a tight fit. To fit just inside of that. Okay. So I'm going to use my quick dry glue. My Scotch. Using the fine tip. Okay. Let me just kind of do that. And you don't have to worry about the glue seeping out, only because, as I said, you're going to cover it. So I'm off camera. You can see there's just a little bit of overlap. And I need to hold it together. That's probably about, I'm going to measure it so you can see. 1, 2, 3, 3/8 of an inch. And hopefully this will fit in my box snugly. Because that's what you want, right? Now, I had put creases originally in this piece of tubing, but you're going to have to recrease it somewhere else because now it's a little bit of a different size. So that's what I'm doing, as well as holding down that little flap. Okay. So that's the quick dry. Let me go ahead and glue these flaps down on the bottom so we have something to put it inside of. So I'm trying to stay on camera for this. Sorry if I go off camera a little bit. So I'm going to glue the flaps together quickly here. And I have this little flap that just didn't want to. See that little corner right there? I'm gluing it down so it doesn't look ugly. And then I'm going to glue the outer flaps together by putting glue on each one of them, because they don't touch each other, unlike the last box that I showed you. So that's going to go in. Then this one's going to go on top. Oh, they do touch each other. Look at that. I was wrong. So now you have a nice bottom of the box. And of course you could have made it taller if you want to, but I want a short box this time because I think it looks cute. And I'm just, you know, putting my finger in there to kind of push down on the, I could use my bone folder, on the glued parts. And so there's the bottom of the box, or if you were baking a lid, it's the same process. So here's the other piece that I had glued together. This is going to be the insert. I'm going to basically do the same thing I did last time, which is to, and this is not dry yet, try and crease it. You would ideally want to wait until this is done. Or if you're impatient like me, you can use a piece of washi tape. And I don't know if this is a good idea because I haven't done this way before. I'm going to tape it. See? I'm just taping it along that seam. So it doesn't pop out when I go to crease it again. Or hopefully it doesn't. So I'm just, again, matching up the seams on the side. And then flattening it out. See that? So this is making the insert, and you have another square that is slightly smaller than the outside of the box, which should hopefully fit inside your box just fine. And mine does. There you go. And then what I did was I actually glued it down. So let me do that. I'm going to glue the inside of the box because I don't want to put glue on the top part that sticks out. So I'm taking the glue to the inside of the box bottom, and you can see that's what I did. I put glue on all 4 sides, and then I'm just going to stick this in there so that it fits together. There we go. Beautiful, right? And my bottom doesn't want to stay because it's not dry yet. Okay, I have glue oozing out the sides. And this doesn't fit exactly right. Okay, I pushed that down in there too much, I think. It's not fitting together well, which is making on the side. which, you know, in retrospect, I can show you, you know, what not to do, right? Okay, let me use my bone folder again on the inside of the box and just kind of making sure it's secured. Okay, so then the only thing you have to do now is the top. And, sorry, I'm going to add some more glue to the bottom here because I am not liking how it looks. Not that it matters, it's just me. Okay, you can see glue on the inside too, but that dries clear, so it doesn't matter. And I'm going to paint it. So, the lid. Now, my lid happens to have a hole in the top, and that's because I want to be able to fit something through it in order to pull it out, you know, pull the lid off, because these fit so well together that, now this is the lid from the other box since I haven't made the lid yet, that, you know, it's hard sometimes to pull it off, especially if it's somebody who has big fingers or what have you. So, you know, make sure that what you're going to do is these flaps are going to be a little bit shorter than what I used on the bottom, which was 3/4 of an inch. Maybe a 1/2 inch would be good, or somewhere between 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch would be good. So you leave enough of a hole to thread something through. Now I used a, for this box, I used a hitch fastener, and you can get these from Hobby Lobby or from Tim Holtz, or you could use a knob. But if you use this hitch fastener, it's got to be a smaller hole than this because the screw is small. It's not a really big one. So I'm not going to leave that big of a hole. I want a smaller hole than that. And I can tell you this flap has, it's a little bit over a 1/2 inch. So I need to go at least to 3/4, well, not 3/4 of an inch, just between that. 3/4, close to 3/4 of an inch, but not exactly. So I'm going to do that so I can show you. Now, let me use the same roll. I'm going to use the same roll I used for the bottom to do this, because I know that toilet paper rolls pretty much are the same size, but you don't know exactly, you know. I know which one is which because this one's creased on all 4 sides, right? So I know it will fit over top, and it will match the bottom one because this is the same one I cut it from, right? The same, whoops, tube that I cut it from. Sorry for making the thing shake. See, at this point, if I wanted to, this could be the top. Well, there's no hole in it. Or I could make it longer if I decide I wanted to, but I don't want to do that. I want to make a tiny box. What am I going to put in this box? I have no idea. So this box is going to be a little bit, I'm going to measure this little lip here, and it's going to be a little bit taller than that lip. The lip is about a 1/2 inch, almost a 1/2 inch tall, but not quite. So I'm going to go a little bit longer than that on this one. Yeah. And I'm sorry I'm doing it off camera. And it's just because of where the camera is positioned and where I can see. Draw the line. You do want your lines to be straight, because otherwise you'll have a box that doesn't fit together and isn't squared off. So the straighter your lines, the better. Oops, I didn't want to do that. See, I made my first mistake. Luckily I have enough material. I should have cut it above that line. Marilyn. Do it again from the other side. I'm not going to edit that out either. So, just a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch. Now, I'm just drawing the line now for reference. Don't cut on the line. So, there's that line for reference. That's how deep my lid's going to be. I'm going to go a little bit more than that for the flaps. The flaps, as I said, have to be more than a 1/2 inch. So, what you're going to see me do is go up another, and this will be the height of my flap. See that? There's 2 tick marks right there. And that's where I'm going to cut. Where did I put it? Right here? Close enough. Okay, so that's where my mess up was. So this is the height of the lid. This is the height of the flaps. That's what I'm going to cut off. Okay, and then I'm going to cut the slits in it. So this is the bottom half of the lid. This is the top half. They look exactly the same because the measurement's about the same. But since I haven't moved my piece yet, I remember which one is which. So now I'm just cutting the flaps. I guess I could cut the other side. It's not going to matter too much. Uh-oh. I didn't mark this end. I'll eyeball it because I can see it. And this one has a line. Okay. So then you're just going to fold along that line that you made. If you can. If I can. And this is forming the lid now. It's pretty easy once you've cut it because the corners kind of guide you. Okay. So now I pull them back up again to formulate the lid. And you can see here that there is a hole in the top. And that's so I can feed something through as a knob to hold it down. And so when you go to glue, you saw what I had it, how I had it folded. Instead of the flaps like the bottom, it has the 4 corners. So I'm going to put glue on each of the corners that are tucked in underneath. Is that right? Did I do that right? This one's going to need it. No? Sorry, I'm looking down at the piece that I just did. So these two, this one, and that one goes. I put glue on this one and I didn't need to. You don't have to do it this way. You could fold the 2 flaps in at the same time, but I'm just... Okay. So that's the one that needs the glue. I'm not worried about the glue because I'm going to cover this anyway. So there we go. I'm going to avoid touching that. I'm actually going to wipe that off. Just wiping the glue off, guys, so I don't get it all over my hands. So now you can see I've got a little hole in the top. The bottom is right here. I can fit them together. And sometimes it fits better if you turn it a little bit, the 2 pieces, but there you go. There's my little tiny box. And you can see that my box is really squat. It's not like the last one I did. I'll show you them together so you can see. See? That's about the height of the bottom of the first box. And this box measures 1 3/4 of an inch. Just about that. So there's my tutorial. I hope that helps everybody. Happy crafting. Talk to you soon. Bye.